Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? I think I know how you're all doing after the weekend, after the FA Cup final. We're here. The season is over. That was a crazy season, a pretty exhausting season, even for fans, let alone for the players. But we're here to have a complete transfer roundup. The season is upon us. That board already looks stupid, but it's a reflection of how crazy a lot of the transfer window is. What I'm going to do throughout this whole summer is try to genuinely keep on top of the transfers. What's actually moving? Who, where? I'm going to try and sift through it for you every single day here, every morning, live at 10 a.m. as a community to try and make it a little bit less infuriating. I'll do my best. For the first 10, 15 minutes of the show today, we're going to be talking about the FA Cup final. All right. We're going to be reflecting on that game. We're going to talk about individual performances. You're going to let me know what you think in the comments below. We can reflect on the season as a whole. And then what I'm going to do is talk about every single player that there's genuine conversation around. Mason Mount, clearly the primary target as of now anyway, in terms of the move we could expect the earliest. We'll speak about Harry Kane, Moises Caicedo, briefly about Declan Rice, Min-Jae. There's lots and lots of things to discuss. But who's down here in the comments? Good morning to everybody. Sam, you're there as well. There's another Sam. Look at that. Gary Burton, Manoil, how you doing? Old school. Jay Roberts. We've got Al Williams. We've got Alex. We've got Scott. Ant, you're there. Or you're there. Josh, you're there. We've got a full house here nearly, I reckon. Ricky Bell. We've got Red G. We've got Paula. Stu, how you doing, buddy? Who's on? JVD, you're there too. Zane on Facebook. Louis on Facebook. AP. We've got Ashley, Ben, Henry. Good morning to everyone. And David Carroll. Lots and lots more of you as well. Let's talk about the FA Cup final, right? You saw my match reaction. Me and the lads recorded a pod last night. I called it an FA Cup too far. You can let me know what you think about the overall performance, the overall, well, we know what we think about the overall result, right? It was, it was a bit brutal. Certainly after that goal, after 12 seconds. After 12 seconds. If you'd like to listen to the podcast, it's free. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. I'd love you to do so as a community. You can help that podcast become the biggest and the best United podcast out there. Maybe that'll open up more opportunities for interviews and stuff like that. So if you can, give it a listen and give it a 5-star review. But let's talk about the final, all right? The FA Cup final. I'm not sure if you got the feeling in the build-up to that game, the hour that was, you know, you've got the build-up all week and stuff like that. But the hour before, you just realize how much bigger the FA Cup is than the League Cup. I don't know, it's the occasion of it. It felt like a different sort of level of occasion. But to concede a goal after 12 minutes like we did there. Wow. It was a shock. And of course, when it comes to losing finals, there's always scapegoats. There's always players or managers or tactics or anything. 12 seconds, geez, whatever. 12 seconds, minutes, don't care. 12 something. It was horrendous. There's always going to be somewhere where the finger gets pointed. Now, the finger is pointed firmly at David De Gea. What I will genuinely say is that first goal, I don't really blame De Gea that much. I think you might be able to argue about his positioning somewhat. Like, it was a worldie. It was an absolute worldie of a goal. Ridiculous hit from Gundogan. Not many keepers in the world are stopping that. However, the second one is, I think like 4 out of 5 goalkeepers in the league are saving that every time. 4 out of 5. But this is what I said in the podcast yesterday, right? And this is what I mean about scapegoats, and sometimes it's unjustified. The reason why the majority of the conversation is around David De Gea after that game is not, in my opinion, I know the goals we concede, right? Of course he's involved in those. Of course that, for me, it was his distribution. And you know what made it worse for me, personally, was the fact that Ortega was in goal for Man City. their second goalkeeper was in for the FA Cup final and looked immeasurably more confident with the ball at his feet. It wasn't even Ederson. Ederson sat on the bench. It goes to show the quality and the strength that City have got. Look, they started their second string goalkeeper and he played like that. They brought Phil Foden off the bench and we brought Wout Weghorst. It was an FA Cup final too far. I'm going to be seeing what you're saying down here in the comments, right? Because I think this is obviously the biggest talking point. I want to focus on here at the start. I don't think it should be ignored. And you kind of know full well what I think about De Gea and this new contract that still, at this moment in time, he looks like he's going to be signing. Blue, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for the super chat. What are you saying? Morning, Sam. Do you think we approached the game afraid of City? Poor start, horrible goalkeeping. It looked like we had zero intentions. Dude, what it was, we conceded. You're right there to call me out on it. We conceded a goal after 12 seconds. Any plan we had, screw it up, throw it out the window after 12 seconds in an FA Cup final. You can't really, I don't know. Well, you can't plan for that. You cannot plan for that. And as soon as that happened, any sort of semblance of an idea of what we saw at Old Trafford early this season, of Fred man marking De Bruyne, and look, we kept Haaland quiet. Imagine keeping Haaland quiet and conceding the 2 goals that we did. Mr. Miracle's trying to blame Eriksen for both of them. First one, no desire to check. Blaming Eriksen for the first one. Wow. Eriksen had a poor game, but I'm not sure if you saw my tweet before the game. I said, I fear that this game, the pace of it will be too fast for Christian Eriksen. It was a concern I had before the game. And I think Eriksen was right to go off. I think Sancho could have gone off. I think there were other players in that. De Gea was not the only one in that final who I believe underperformed compared to their highest levels this season. But this De Gea situation, right? It's going to go on and on and on and on and on and on until he leaves. That's where I've got to. That's where my mindset is now. Previously, I was of the thought that De Gea could sign a new contract, be our second string, well, not our guaranteed first choice goalkeeper. I don't do that at all anymore. I don't think De Gea should be getting a contract. Unfortunately, I think for Ten Hag, there's so many things at the door, so many priorities that he's having to choose. He's having to pick and choose because of budgets, because of restrictions. And he sees the striker situation, maybe the midfielder situation as bigger priorities. I don't personally. I think De Gea is, man. It's the fact that Ortega started in goal for City and played like that. I'm like, your second string is doing that. Now, Ten Hag, right? To focus on the positives here, there's plenty of positives to focus on from this season. This guy is the guy. Ten Hag has that's the title of the podcast this week, right? Ten Hag has made us believe again. Really, really has. And look at the stats here. Look, just to pull up the stats, you don't need stats to understand how much progress we've made this, but they do help. Our second highest points total since Fergie. Most wins by United by a debuting United manager. Well, he did play a lot of games, but still impressive. Most home wins. We've ended the 6-year trophy drought. We had 3 trips to Wembley, and we'll be back at Wembley. And so much progress has been made. But I think we can all completely agree that we've maxed out there. With this current squad, we've maxed out. I don't think next season, if we went into next season with this same squad, that we would have any expectations of bettering a 3rd place finish and a cup. That's where this squad, that's the limitations of it. On top of that, now we need a world-class striker. We need, I would say, a world-class midfielder. And probably another centre-back because of the different style of midfielders that we seem to be looking at. It's I'm not going to be looking back on this season with a huge amount of negativity. There are so many flashpoints. We've had, what's mad to think, and I thought about this the other day. This is the same season that Ronaldo played for us. That feels like a lifetime ago. I'm not sure if you're the same as me, but Ronaldo played for us this season. That's how long this campaign has been. With the World Cup in the middle, it just made it two distinctly different parts of the season. It was weird, it was odd. But that final was mate, how good was this kid when he came on? Look, I've gone full Argentinian on the wall today. Ode to how well Garnacho played. He is a key part of the future. Martinez, we missed him massively, didn't we? We missed him massively. I can't wait to get him back when we do get him back. But Alejandro Garnacho, when he came off the bench as an 18-year-old, when he opened his body up with that right foot curl, I'm like, please just get into the corner. Get into the just a little bit wide. There's a couple of super chats here. I want to read some of your comments out. And then there's so much to talk about this morning. It really is kind of like an end of season review today and the beginning of the transfer window, where I'm really going to try my hardest not to feed the hysteria and the clickbait, because it's out there everywhere if you want it. I'm going to try and not add to that, whilst also at the same time presenting the news to you. It's going to be difficult, but I hope that you'll join me on that journey. Jibak, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for the super chat. Given De Gea a contract goes against all the principles. Madrid are letting Benzema go. If we had a Ballon d'Or winner at Old Trafford, we would give them a lifetime contract. Madrid aren't letting Benzema go. He's going. He's made the choice himself. Ancelotti only found out in the morning of their last game of the season that he was leaving. He's decided, I think he leaves as Real Madrid's most decorated player ever. 14 years. Incredible. He decided to leave. Real Madrid didn't push him out. De Gea getting a new contract. Oh, wrong one. It's not that I would say it goes against principles, but I think Erik ten Hag's been pretty firm in how he's managed everything so far. Managed players. And I don't know what the terms in this contract are. And I said this I'll ask you this question as well, actually. It's a good super chat. I'll ask you this question as well, because I asked it to the lads on the podcast this week. What do you think is the hold-up? I think I already asked this last week. I want to see if the opinions change. What do you think is the hold-up for De Gea's contract? Is it that he doesn't think he's getting enough money? Is it that there's terms in it that he's not currently agreeing with? And that, what do you think is the reason that he's not signed it? Or is it Ten Hag going, hold on, not quite sure about this yet? Or maybe is it a combination of more than one thing? You can let me know in the comments. It's a super chat there. I want to read this one out. And then I'll come down there. Sridget, man, you're absolute ledge. Thank you so much for super chat, man. What are you saying? Mate, no matter how much effort Ten Hag puts in at United, we'll never win anything unless the club is bought by Qatar. We need the super wealth of Qatar to invest in his team's stadium facilities. Having Glazers in the club, we are going nowhere. I would disagree in saying that we need super wealth. The reason we need super wealth, well, not that I'm being a hypocrite there. Manchester United as a football club can be extremely sustainable. Our revenues are huge. The reason that we're screwed is because of the debt that's laden onto the club and also the massive investment in infrastructure. That's a big reason why only a Qatari bid and Jim Ratcliffe have come forward to this point. When Man United went up for sale, you think everyone's going to want it. Only two real bids. I don't think that we don't need to become City and there are 115 charges against them. We don't need to become PSG. We do not need that. However, we need that investment in the infrastructure and the facilities is the big question mark. When it comes to spending money on players, I think we've got enough wealth inside the club in terms of the revenues that we generate moving forward. However, when you do both at the same time, it's kind of hard to look past mega investment. Now, I'm going to go down here and see what you're saying in the comments. There's so many people joining in today. Thank you very much. Stephanie, you're saying new keeper incoming for possibly for De Gea is the contract hold up. Ray, you think it's not offering guarantees. Simple as that. That is the hold up. AJ, you're saying it's got to be promised game time. He's not guaranteed. He's not guaranteed number one. But I'm not a professional football player, but I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't have guarantees of game time and appearances and contracts. It would be like a very strange thing to have. Or you're saying it's to do with him doubting if he can do the job. Stephen, you think it's to do with terms. Vicky, you think it's money. Of course, these are all sort of not assumptions or presumptions. It's just it's our sort of interpretation of the news and what's gone on. I'm being told that I missed a gong down there. I really apologize about that. It's a big show this morning, so I don't know who it was. Someone let me know who it was, and I whipped that out. The gong that is. I really don't know how to look at this De Gea contract situation. I really, really don't. Well, I know how to look at it. I don't think it should happen, but I think it might. Then I think that would be a problem. I think that would be a mistake. And if Manchester, it's just everything. It's the way that it's all happened. If De Gea had an extra year in his contract, we wouldn't need to have these conversations. We could just let his contract run out and then just kind of sit there. But instead, it's the fact that we've got to hand out a new contract. It's like a new contract right now. A new contract? Like, no way do his performances this season warrant a new contract. And there's plenty of other players inside this. Sancho, like, for example, look, this man here has improved so many players this season. Luke Shaw, incredible. Marcus Rashford, fantastic. Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the second half of the season. He has proven that as a coach, he can take players and make them better versions of themselves. However, all the concerns and issues around David De Gea that existed on the first day of the season exist on the last day of the season. And I would say probably the same thing about Jadon Sancho. There are certain players that just haven't kicked on this year, and that a year under Erik ten Hag hasn't really made them much better. So you have to question either Ten Hag and his coaching staff, or you have to question the individual. And with so much evidence in that squad of players who have massively improved, then you have to look towards the individual and whether or not they suit the system. That's where I stand on it all. Hassan, man, you're absolute legend. Thank you so much for Super Chat. And I think we've got to do a gong down here for Fizz. Thank you very much, Fizz. I'm so sorry I missed it there. I was kind of getting into a passionate conversation. What else are you saying down here? Fred, you're saying let him go and move on. That's what I think we should do, but it's just a case of can we realistically, right? I've already done my perfect window. You know what my perfect window is. 2 strikers, a central midfielder. No, 2 strikers, 2 central midfielders, a centre-back, and a young and up-and-coming goalkeeper. That's 6. Is that realistic? I would say it's possible if we get our sales correct. And that's where we're going to head into now. We've had a good 15 minutes of the show there to speak about the FA Cup. Mate, by the way, how cool was that penalty? How cool was that penalty from that man there? Man. You know what? That was the first goal that City had conceded in the FA Cup that season. The only goal they conceded the whole way through. It's mad. It's absolute madness down there. Let me see what else you're saying down here. Danny, you're saying he does deserve a new contract because of previous years. And he's been our best performing player for years, voted for by fans and players. No. This is where I categorically disagree. And this is and this is just where I stand now. I think sentiment and emotion is not something that needs to be involved in this contract conversation. And it's easy enough for us to say. I'm not going to sit there as Erik ten Hag and sit there face to face with David De Gea and tell him this. Or any other player. But according to what happened this season and this season alone, Ten Hag wasn't here before this season. Ten Hag has seen De Gea for 1 season. And the problem still exists there. Ryden, you're saying that was not a penalty. We got lucky. Mate, the game is crap. The game of football is worse than it was a few years. And that's not just me being old man moaning about it. It wasn't a handball. But in the rules of the modern game and the way that it's gone now, it was absolutely a handball. It touched his hand. And he would have gone through to United player had his hand not been there. Therefore, it's a penalty. I agree with you. It shouldn't have been a penalty. But it is. And that's the way that the modern game has gone. In the same way that ownerships and all of that, I don't like it, but that's the way that ownerships have gone. A lot of football, in my opinion, is not changing for the better. There's a couple more super chats here, and then we move on to the transfers, which is a big part of the show today, and there's so much for us to talk about. Ray, thank you very much for super chat, dude. How you doing, man? What do you think? Problem we have this season is we don't have a striker to score enough goals. It showed in the final. I reckon Ten Hag would replace De Gea in the summer, but we really have to look at the centre forwards, the centre backs, and the centre. We have to look everywhere else first. I don't know whether it's a priority thing or whether it's a budget thing. Well, probably they're probably linked, aren't they? But there's for a man who seems so meticulous in his planning and everything that he has done, I would be staggered beyond belief if Ten Hag looked at De Gea and went, yeah, right, yeah, okay, that'll do. There's no way. It goes in complete contrast to everything that Ten Hag has done so far as a manager. Paul, I just saw you mentioning Jermaine Genius down there. Now, what was Jermaine Genius on that commentary? I actually forgot that there was commentary on ITV. I should have watched that one instead. He was on an absolute mad one. Hassan, how you doing, buddy? Not money. You're saying, because I read that, give Erik ten Hag the money he wants and let him get the player he wants to win trophies. It's not just about giving him the money he wants. It's about finding players, finding teams, that want the players that we need to sell. Some of them are on big contracts. Some of them will not be easy to sell. Let me see what you're saying down here. Realistically, Ten Hag does not have the funds, says G Singh, to replace De Gea, given that we need to upgrade the midfield and the attack. Henderson, number 1, and Van der Sar to train the keepers. Van der Sar's going to go from the CEO of Ajax to goalkeeper coach at Manchester United. Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. What else are you saying down here? De Gea just won Golden Glove for the team in 3rd place, and we're questioning what he does. Yes, Scott, we are. We absolutely have to. And honestly, I'm not just calling you out on this, Scott. You've really got blinkers on. Mad blinkers. If you're looking at the stat, look, we all love to use stats when it suits the conversation that we want to push, right? You might use the word agenda, but I wouldn't go as far as that. But De Gea did win the Golden Glove. Yeah, and our defense in front of him with that man was significantly better. Significantly better. We score as a team, we defend as a team. De Gea's shot-stopping ability is not even what it once was. Dean, you're saying De Gea's done great things in the past, but I think he should have the respect for the club to bow out in style and part ways amicably. We'd love that to be the case from a fan perspective, but from a life perspective, De Gea's settled now. With it, I think, is it Dern? Is his wife? They've got a kid now. They're in Manchester. They've been in Manchester for what, 12, 13 years. Once upon a time, he was keen to move to Madrid. Who wants De Gea now? Again, this is something that we spoke about on the podcast. Real Madrid won't want him. They've got Courtois. Oblak at Atletico Madrid. So that's both Madrid clubs ruled out. Barcelona have got Ter Stegen. Who in La Liga is he going to go to? Therefore, he's not going to push to leave. Therefore, he wants to stay for his own, from his own personal perspective. It's not what is best for the team, though. And I'm going to move on now because otherwise we're going to keep talking about David De Gea. It's very clear what I'm not sitting on the fence with the De Gea situation anymore. I do not think he should sign a contract. The same problems exist now that existed at the start of the season. I think we've seen enough evidence now to know that David De Gea cannot be coached into the goalkeeper that Ten Hag needs. Therefore, we need to invest. Therefore, we need to replace. I just don't know whether we're going to be able to do that all in the same summer as signing maybe 2 strikers, maybe a central midfielder or 2, maybe a centre-back as well. So much to do this summer. Let's head through now and let's talk about the transfers. Make sure you drop a like on the video if you would. Got lots more to discuss in this show and so many players. Now, the one thing that I've said that Manchester United needed to improve this summer, getting deals done early. Of course, this has been hanging over the head of the club like a dark cloud. Avram and Joel Glazer digging their heels in, not wanting to sell. The other 4 Glazers wanting to sell. And us being stuck in some sort of family civil war and internal conflict. And the club stuck in limbo as a consequence. There's no more clarity on that. We've got the Financial Times over the weekend that have reported that Jim Ratcliffe might actually find a deal that keeps all 6 siblings on. And it's all just different structures of a kind of same, but different with Jim Ratcliffe. He's clearly willing to keep the Glazers on as minority shareholders without control or without any influence or power at Manchester United, effectively turning them into New York Stock Exchange minority holders, where they wouldn't actually have any power. Alex, you said it down there. We should probably do a vid on Matej Kovar. I'm still trying to find that journalist from Sparta Prague to speak about his season there. Of course, Matej Kovar, United's young goalkeeper, went on loan to Sparta Prague, won the league in the Czech Republic, and had an impressive. I think he actually won Player of the Year as well. But let's talk about transfers. Now, as I said, the takeover is hanging over our heads because we don't know which way we're going. We don't know. Ten Hag doesn't truly know how much he can plan and what he can and can't do, and it's an issue. But it seems like United are trying to move fast. And what we can see here is the Athletic reporting this morning that United really are trying to sign players early this summer. Ideally, 2 players before the preseason. Now, you know what's absolutely mad, right? And this might make you sick. Let me get the exact date here. Right. We've got a game in 6 weeks. My word, it never stops. Let's pull this up here, right? This Man United's first game of the preseason is on the 19th of July in Edinburgh against Lyon. 6 weeks we've got before we're playing football again. 6 weeks we've got to get deals done, to get a takeover completed. 6 weeks. It's like the World Cup break-ish. Maybe a little bit longer than that. It's not long at all. So Man United are going to have to move fast. Oh, let me get rid of that. And Mason Mount is being lined up as the first name on that list. If we go over here, we look at the board, right? I've got Mason Mount up there. We're going to talk about that £50 million bid and reports from Jason Burton Telegraph. And you can see the names I've got down here in the sort of the could happen list. We've got Hojlund, we've got Muani, we've got Kane, Min-Jae, and Rabiot. Now, you could add Caicedo to... I want to add Caicedo to that list, but I won't do it just yet. You could add some other names as well. I know you're not going to be able to read all these names because there's so many damn names on there. We've got Amrabat that got added over the weekend. We've got Vega from... who's he played for? Is it Villenda? Who's he played for? They just beat Barcelona last night, 2-0. Celta Vigo? Yeah, he's Celta Vigo. He banged in 2. Very nice. Lots of different players. Let me run through this article here, which is confirmation. Well, I say confirmation. It's a report that Manchester United are going to be bidding £50 million for Mason Mount. Now, there's quite a big bit of information in this about Mason Mount, about Rashford, about maybe Man United signing a left winger. There's lots to run through. Let me dive into it, and then I'll head down to the comments straight after. This is from Jason Burton, James Ducker from the Telegraph, saying that United are going to be making a £50 million bid for Mason Mount, and we're prepping that move for Harry Kane. United are to make an offer of £50 million to sign Mason Mount this month. The club will also push to sign Harry Kane from Spurs. United are set to back manager Erik ten Hag and are also targeting signing a left winger and another midfielder in addition to Mount. The left winger conversation, we're not going to have just yet. We'll have that a little bit later. Let's focus on Mason Mount for the time being, right? Mason Mount, I'll hold my hands up here and say, I need Erik ten Hag to convince me that Mason Mount is worth 50 million. I think Mason Mount, I can see the logic of Mason Mount. I can see the profile of Mason Mount. I can understand why he could and maybe would be a good signing. However, there would be other places that I would personally be looking if I was going to be spending north or 50 million or north on a midfielder. And you know full well which Brighton midfielder that I would go after. Now, Caicedo and Mount are 2 really quite different profiles of midfielders. They both could play in the energetic number 8 role, but Caicedo is somebody who naturally, instinctively is somebody who's going to be looking backwards towards defending, winning the ball back, possession, build up. Mason Mount is instinctively, naturally going to be somebody who drives the ball forward. So they work instinctively in kind of 2 different ways. So they're not the same player. I would need to be convinced that Mason Mount, and that's what I mean. Like, I trust, where is it? That one there? I trust this man completely. Ten Hag has got it spot on with his transfers so far, I would say. You can argue that we overpaid for Anthony. And you'd be right. You could argue we overpaid for Casemiro. Don't think anyone's saying that anymore. But we overpaid last summer. We signed players too late. Yeah, but I think we signed the right players. Mason Mount, I'd need to be convinced about. I think if you, in my head, and this is what I'm doing in my head, I'm like, right, okay. So Scott McTominay leaves and United get 30 million and we then go and sign Mason Mount for 50 million. For a net 20 million, do I think Mason Mount's going to be a better fit for this squad than McTominay? Yeah, I would. Do I think Mason Mount is the midfielder that's going to take our midfield from where it is now to where it needs to be to compete for the Premier League next season on his own? No, I don't. I think we need more than that. So it's good there to see at the very least that he's saying that we're going to be signing another midfielder. Who that other midfielder is, though, I don't know, but it probably think you might be looking towards Adrien Rabiot there. Adrien Rabiot probably coming in as the Casemiro alternative, somebody who can play a little bit deeper. I mean, they're not exactly the same sort of player, but he's experienced and he could play inside that role. All of you getting offended down there about the price of Mason Mount. Yeah, I think 50 mil is quite, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot for certainly for a player in his last year of his contract and from a club that is desperate to sell him. And we're comparing it to Alexis McAllister. I don't know how much they're paying. Liverpool going to pay for McAllister. I think, has he got a release clause in his contract? Not quite sure. Mason Mount, I'm not offended by it, man. I'm not going to lose my shit over it. I'm not going to label it as a terrible signing because I trust Ten Hag. And you might say that's blind loyalty at this point, but he's earned that respect from me. Maybe Mason Mount will be the first transfer where it doesn't quite go right. And it does end up. But hey, I'm not going to go into that transfer thinking like that at all. We're going to have to see what happens. But according to the Telegraph, Man United are going to be making this £50 million bid and making it quick and moving fast. And there's some other key points to discuss down here as well. Or you're right down there saying there's an upgrade on Eriksen. Maybe it's not that I would say that Mason Mount is an upgrade on Eriksen, but you know what I said about Eriksen's physics. Eriksen was never signed, ever signed to be Manchester United's first choice central midfielder to play 3 times a week. Ever. But he did that. And he did that really well, by the way. Pre-World Cup, Eriksen was a monster. It's almost like his legs caught up with him. It's almost like he went to a World Cup as well. It's almost like he played too much football because the game was relentless because we had a World Cup mid-season. Christian Eriksen is going to have a great spot inside that squad next year, but we need more mobility, more energy inside that midfield, and that's where Mason Mount really does tick the box. And I'm not saying he's a £50 million Duracell battery because he's got more than that. And I would trust Ten Hag if he's got the profile of him and he's got it correct. And Eriksen next season would then, of course, Eriksen had that huge injury. Eriksen next season can then be that player who we can rely on to come on for the last 30 minutes to really give us that control, to find those cutting edge passes. That's where Eriksen will be next year, and then he'll be fantastic. Apparently, I missed a super chat down there. Let me quickly go down here. I don't want to say it. I'm Batman. What are you saying? I think we are 2 transfer markets behind City. Well, if we're 2 transfer markets behind City, we're going to have to get it spot on. Spot on, because everyone around us is really going to strengthen. The Premier League is an absolute behemoth. It effectively is the Super League now. That's what's happened to our league because we've allowed, the Premier League has allowed foreign ownership to come in and turn the league into what it is. Remember how we all looked at name, what is it? When PSG signed Neymar, I remember that being one of the transfers that really made us all go, geez. And that sort of transformed the market. Just the Premier League's got all the cards now. The best players, the best managers, and the most amount of money. It is the place. 2 windows behind City. If that's correct, then we've got to smash these 2 next windows. Now, I want to talk about this, right? The Man United are interested in signing a left winger because the concept and the conversation here, let me get the right photo up. Apologise to Marcus Rashford for having this photo, but it was just from the FA Cup final. The concept there is that Man United will move Marcus Rashford into more of a central position, sign another striker, like Harry Kane, we'll speak about Harry Kane next, and then sign another left winger for competition for Garnacho. I don't know about that. What do you think about that? It's kind of a little bit of a surprise. I've said it for quite a while now, and I will maintain it, that I think I don't expect Jadon Sancho's name to be... we're not going to actively push to sell him, but if we need to raise more funds, I think there are question marks around Jadon Sancho's future at Manchester United. It's not guaranteed. And if a big offer came in this summer, because he's a great player, I guarantee you he goes somewhere else and he's like, wow, there he is. He can't find that at Manchester United. Because we've got Rashford, because we've got Garnacho, do we really need someone on that left wing? Or does Rashford play through the middle? My opinion is that Rashford should be kept on that left-hand side. I think that's his best position. I want Rashford on the left. But then this is what I said in the podcast, right? In my opinion, a big problem that Ten Hag has got, there you go, they're both in that photo. Next season, I don't think you can keep Garnacho and Rashford happy competing for that left wing spot. Rashford, of course, is the senior professional, scores 30 goals. He gets that spot. Garnacho, at 18, he's so self-confident, he wants to play every single week. So you cannot keep Rashford and Garnacho happy next year just competing on that left-hand side. So what do? Do you move Rashford through the middle? That's potentially what you do, and bring in another striker to work. And then you've got Kane and Rashford, or Hojlund and Rashford. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see what Ten Hag does there. And maybe that's the concept of moving Rashford into the middle and signing a left winger. But of course, there's one other big player that we are linked with. Well, one big transfer right now. And that's Harry Kane. Now, Karim Benzema has officially left. I think the season's over now. Of course it is. He's left Real Madrid. Told them on the day of the game, their final game of the season. Ancelotti was surprised, and he's called time on his career at Real Madrid. So that now means, and we spoke about this last week, that now means that Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, and Manchester United are all in the market for an elite level striker. Now, I don't think that Spurs would... Well, they would never sell to Chelsea, not Kane anyway. Surely not. I mean, that's just out of the question. But Real Madrid, this is coming from the Times, Real Madrid are going to be interested in signing Harry Kane. But I'll be totally honest, and this is just my instinct. I might be wrong. Hey, sometimes you are. I don't think that Harry Kane's leaving England. We spoke about it in quite a bit of detail on the podcast. If you want a bit more information and chat on it, I don't think he wants to leave England. Don't think he wants to take his family away from England. And I think he wants that Premier League all-time top scorer record, which means there are effectively two choices. One is stay at Spurs. Now, Spurs have finally got a manager. Postecoglou, the Celtic manager. I think he's won a domestic treble there. I think Spurs have probably got that one correct somehow, considering they went after like 3 or 4 different managers this summer, and then they all said no, and then he's got Postecoglou. I think that's a good appointment, but that now puts Spurs at the beginning of another process. Spurs, if they're lucky, will have 2 to 3 really good windows. Probably not. Rebuild that team, rebuild that squad, and get back to where they were. But Harry Kane was there when they had the Champions League final, when they had a season where they could genuinely have won the Premier League if Pochettino was covered. And Kane was part of that. And now he's just sitting there going, oh, man, have I got the energy to really do another full process? He may well do. He may well do. But everything that we're seeing and hearing about Harry Kane is that Manchester United are skeptical about whether a deal can get done. So whatever happens with Harry Kane, we've got to do it quickly. Go in there, go strong. If we're willing to pay 100 million overall, just go in there and slap it on the table straight away. Don't go and lowball it and delay it and we haven't got time for that. I've told you, we play our first game in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So stupid how short that is. I don't personally think Spurs... Well, I don't think Harry Kane will want to go to Real Madrid. but then Spurs don't want to sell to anyone in the Premier League. So someone's going to be left unhappy, surely. Because I don't think Harry Kane signs a new contract. And if he does, then, well, wow, man, no one's ever going to get Harry Kane, and he's going to retire at Spurs. Stephanie's saying Kane is a Glazers signing. I don't know who came up with that one. You can say what you want about Harry Kane. This dude is scoring 25 goals plus for 3 to 4 seasons if he joins Manchester United. You might want Osimhen. You might want someone else. He guarantees you 25, 30 goals. Craig, you're saying, look, we need super wealth. We need to challenge City. Man. It's I think I'm bored of having the debate about what we do and what we don't need with new owners, because we've had that so many times. Not that I'm bored. Yeah, I'm bored of talking. I want to have the debate now. I want to know who that new owner is going to be, and I want to scrutinize that. I want to dive deep into that. I don't want to have the debate of Qatari or Sheikh Jassim anymore, because I've had it enough. I just want to know who it's going to be. Andy D, thank you very much, Super Chat, dude. What are you saying? Would you give Ahmed a chance next season to compete in the first team squad? Absolutely. He had a fantastic season at Sunderland. On that right-hand side, you're looking at Anthony, Ahmed, and Pellistri. I think Pellistri will leave on loan. Just the way that it's gone this season, I think Pellistri probably won't have a future at Manchester United, which is a real shame because he looks like a hell of a prospect. But for one reason or another, he's just never got the opportunities. Never been given the chance there, really. And that's down to Ten Hag. But Ahmed deserves it, absolutely. I'd love to see him come back in. P.S. How you doing, buddy? You're saying it is left field, but if you look at Rabiot and Mount's heat maps, they drift to the left wing, so Rashford and a new striker up top may make sense. I don't know. It's curious. Certainly, if you look at Mason Mount, he likes to operate in the left half space. That space between midfield, between attack, that's kind of where he operates. Operates really, really well there. It's going to be an interesting one. I really have no idea what to expect, man. I really have no idea what to expect. Pirolas, you're saying, let me see your opinions on Harry Kane, and then we move on. There's still so much to talk about. Honestly, it's a stacked show today. And there's so many of you joining in now. If I can quickly take 1 second out, please drop a like on the video. Welcome to United People's TV. If you're new, I'll be here Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. every single day throughout this transfer window, bringing you all the news, full summary, full discussions, and it's as interactive as possible. Let's talk about it. See what you're saying down here. Rashford does not work as a striker, says Anthony. I wouldn't say he doesn't work as a striker, but I think he's just he's more naturally suited to that left wing. Again, we speak about it in quite a bit of detail on the pod. Prince, you're saying let's go for Osimhen. Mate, Osimhen, I'll be speaking about those 3 lads from Napoli in a little bit now. Freddie Meyer, look, you're saying, are you forgetting Mason Greenwood on the left? I'm not forgetting him. It's just I'm not including him in any damn plan I've got for next season. That's my opinion. I don't want to see him play for United ever again. However, the longer this goes on, the more that could become a distinct possibility. And I just really hope that we're not forced into. I hope that that's not a conversation that we need to be discussing as a fan base. Flores, Sam, you are very focused on Harry Kane, but I think Osimhen would fit very well in his plans. Hey, look, Osimhen would. Osimhen would be a fantastic signing. How deep are your pockets, though? How deep are your pockets? Looking at this, right? Napoli, of course, winning their first league title. Was it 33 years? I think it was. Osimhen with the golden boot, or whatever it's called I don't know what it's called in Serie A. He scored the most goals. Kvara, K. What? Is it Kvara? I think you can call him Kvara, can't you? Victor Kvaratskhelia. I'm going to call him Kvara. Anyway, he won the best player in Serie A. Kim, of course, won best defender in Serie A. And they won Serie A. It was a proper clean sweep for Napoli this season. However, Lucas Spalletti, their manager, has left. That changes quite a lot because things will be different in Napoli next year. I imagine Kvara will, of all the 3 players there, I think the most likely to, let me pull this up here. The most likely to stay is Kvara. The most likely to leave is Kim. And Osimhen could leave, but I think with the price involved I don't know. You know how West Ham priced out a move away for Declan Rice last summer? I think Napoli will probably price Osimhen out of a move this summer unless someone comes in strong and ridiculous with a bid that they just can't refuse. And I don't think that's going to be Manchester United to do that. I think financially we get priced out of a move for Osimhen. Super chat here from Garlic Bread Man. How you doing, buddy? Let me read this one out. Thank you very much. You're saying, I think it's going to be a Rashia's centre forward situation for the summer. Kane is a long shot, but we'll get Hojlund. We'll be open for a Sancho sale if we get a stupid bid for him, but we'd like to keep him. I don't think we'll get a stupid bid for Sancho. I think type it in the comments, realistic expectations of if Jadon Sancho was to leave, and I'm not pushing an agenda for it, I'm saying that if you're looking at players in this squad that have resale value, Jadon Sancho is one of them. And if we do need to raise funds, maybe it's an option that we look at, given that we've got Garnacho and Rashford on the left wing already. How much do you think is realistically you could ask for Jadon Sancho? What do we pay? 72.5? I don't know. Rashford as the centre forward is going to be an interesting choice. But of those three here, I think I would like United. I would like them all. Really. I'm not going to choose which one I want more out of those. Kim is the most likely. That's why Kim is down there on the could happen list because of his release clause. We know, was it £47.5 million? First 2 weeks of July. That's active in just over what? 3 and a bit weeks? Let me see what you're saying about Jadon Sancho down here. Ryden, you're saying 60 mil. 30 mil, 60 mil, says Aloysius. 70 mil, says Albert. Lucky to get 50, 70, 45, 50 mil, 50. It's minimum 50. Minimum 50. Ryan, I agree with you. This is what Manchester United do. He's on ridiculous wages. Jadon Sancho is easily worth 50 million. It's not even a conversation. It is not even a debate. There's no way it's less than 50 mil. And it's probably a little bit more. But we'll see what goes on. It depends on, I suppose, whether we need to raise those funds. Of those three, I think Kim is most likely. The least likely is Kvara, because I don't think he'll leave Napoli this summer. And Osimhen would realistically be, I don't know, like 30, maybe 40 million more than Harry Kane. It's a lot of dough. And then, of course, you speak about Rasmus Hojlund, who, again, he's on the could happen list. He's on the maybe list. Because if we sign Hojlund, we don't sign Harry Kane. And clearly what Man United have done is we've made moves with Hojlund. We've already talked with Atalanta a couple of times. Ten Hag's got on the phone, ringing him, FaceTiming him. It's mad. What is tapping up anymore? Like previously, you couldn't get in contact with anything to do with the player, but now you've got managers apparently whipping out the phones and getting on FaceTime with them. It's completely different, man. It's completely different. But anyway, we're looking at Rasmus Hojlund because we know full well that there is a chance that Spurs just dig in and they don't let Harry Kane join. So I don't think it's going to be Kane plus Hojlund. It strikes me as it's just unlikely. I think if we sign Hojlund, we don't sign Harry Kane and vice versa. But he's definitely on the list. Now, an interesting one that's sort of developed. Now, I'm not saying that we're interested in Manuel Ugarte, but I'm pulling this up because of the next conversation I'm having, the next point I'm making. Chelsea were reportedly close to signing Ugarte from Sporting Lisbon, of course, a pure number 6. He would be down, if you're looking at the squad list, he would be down as the Casemiro alternative. Pure number 6. However, this is where it gets interesting because apparently PSG are now going to be signing him instead of Chelsea. Some mad stories came out last night, but regardless of how this Ugarte saga will finish, keep an eye on Moises Caicedo. This is coming from Fabrizio Romano. Chelsea wanted him in January, well informed since May, and he's always been on that list with Ugarte. So it looks so it looks like PSG are going to be signing Ugarte, and that of course leaves money free. And Chelsea may well be the club that ends up getting Caicedo. And that, for me, would sting. Would really sting. I want Caicedo badly. Badly. He's the midfielder that I can see taking our midfield really up a level next season. Really up a level. But if Chelsea, I suppose it depends what he wants. Does he want to be... We know full well that Caicedo... He's a United fan. He wanted to join United before when he was he left Ecuador and Brighton signed him for like 4 or 5 million. He wants it. If United go in for Caicedo, we've got Champions League football. We've got, he'll be joining us. But then if Brighton get into that bidding war, we may get forced out of it by Chelsea because of money. As I said, if you go back to the Telegraph here and say, look, Manchester United alongside Mason Mount want another midfielder. Well, I want that midfielder to not be you, to be Moises Caicedo. That's what I want. But Chelsea, as I said, next season, Chelsea are a joke with a capital J. They haven't got any European football the next year. What did they finish like 12th? Of course, for Brighton, it'll be a perfect situation if they got United and Chelsea into a bidding war. United have also been tentatively linked to Declan Rice. And I would call it tentative because I think he's going to Arsenal. Might be wrong. May well be wrong. West Ham play in the Europa Conference final on Wednesday. So let's see what goes on there. And whether or not Declan Rice wins it and whether or not that bid from Arsenal goes in after. Declan Rice is going to be the player that goes for probably north of 100 mil because of the just the amount of clubs that are linked with him. Bayern Munich, Arsenal, United are getting thrown in there, Chelsea getting thrown in there. Real Madrid have got Jude Bellingham. But Moises Caicedo is the one I want. I haven't got Moises Caicedo down there on the could happen list because at this moment in time, we haven't seen anything really concrete linking him with a move to United. With Hojlund, we've seen plenty. We know that we're in talks with Atalanta. We know that we've spoken to him directly. We also know that we've spoken to Kolo Muani. We also know that United are going to be making a move for Harry Kane, Min-Jae. Of all the players we've been linked to from Italy, all the reports there are linking him to United, and Adrian Rabiot, he's been there for some time. So that's why those players are down there on the could happen list. And Mason Mount is the only player who's up there in the moving list because United are going to be mounting a bid this week. Now, I can see quite a few of you mention it down there. I was going to have it up here, actually, but I forgot to. Let me quickly pull this article up. And I thought this was an interesting one because I believe, let me get it here. Where is it? There. I believe that this man has only got 1 year left on his contract. Fred. Honestly, I would be surprised if Fred left Manchester United this summer. I really would. Because I think from a profile perspective, it's certainly if we're going to be switching to playing 2 number 8s with a number 6, like Fred suits that system, man. Really does suit that system. And he would complement someone like Mason Mount or be a similar style of player. Fred there had an interview after the FA Cup final. He was speaking about his future. This is what he said. He was like, I always want to be playing, helping my team. I'm glad today I started. I think I played well. I still don't know about my future. I've got to talk with my family. I've got 1 year left on my contract. It's holidays. It's now time to rest. I'll talk to staff and see what's happening. I do have to talk with Ten Hag as well. He's the manager, and the conversation has to involve everyone. We'll see. We'll have to see how next season will plan out. I want to be important. I want to help the team, but we'll see. I've always been and still am very happy at Manchester United. What do you think about Fred? Because what I'm going to be doing for my lunchtime video today, I'll give you a little sneaky preview. Let me try and get this up here because this ties into it quite importantly. Right. Okay. Let me see if I can get this up. Yeah, there we go. Right. This is my video for lunchtime today. I'm not going to do this on the show, but I'll show you what it is because Fred is going to be involved in this. I'm going to do an updated tier list. I did a keep or sell already. And I said, you know what? Come the end of the season, I'm going to reassess that. And I've split it down. I've gone a bit deeper. Instead of just simply saying keep or sell, I'm going to split it into different categories. 100 players that we should 100% keep, players that I think are squad players, players I think whose futures you've got question marks around, players who I think should be leaving on loan, and players I think we should 100% be selling or releasing. I'm going to run through the entire squad player by player and put them into this list. I think it'll be a good video. And I think it's important for us to do that video today on day one of the transfer window, because I think this summer, more than anything, we need to get sales right. We need to get sales right. So that's why I'm going to do that video. But Fred, for me, I think Fred should be staying, personally. I really do. I think Fred is a good squad player for Manchester United. I don't think he starts every game next year, but I think in the system we're building towards, he should be kept. Let me see. Fred frustrates the life out of me, says Pete. Sometimes he's excellent, sometimes he's terrible. That's the passing ability of Mr. Blobby. Mr. Blobby was weird, wasn't he? Anyway, you're right there. Fred is a man of extremes. He either makes you go, oh, look how good he is, and he makes you go, what? You can't even play football. Really, he is definitely inconsistent. Or you're saying he can leave him at McTominay. Yeah, he did. He spoke to Marco Silva after the Fulham game. I saw that. I personally would be surprised. And I think, again, that's probably the just the scale of what we've got to do this summer. Somebody who definitely should be leaving. And we all know this, right? We all know this. The Athletic, in their article this morning, saying that a source with understanding of Harry Maguire's intentions that he wants to stay at United. Good luck. Those who know the market believe he could be worth 40 million, and I've maintained this the whole way through. Maguire is worth a minimum 30 million. Minimum 30 million pounds in this market. Regardless of how poor he has been at Manchester United this year, he is worth that much, I think. Of course, he's worth as much as a buying club is willing to pay for him. I think there will be... I don't think that he might not be playing in the Champions League next year, but I think there'll be Premier League teams who want to sign him. And I think 30 million is a good, fair amount. But Harry Maguire, you can want to stay at Manchester United. There's no way he stays at Manchester United. Maguire, Brandon Williams, Tuanzebe, Jones, McTominay, Martial, Weghorst, Elanga. So, there's a lot. That's why I've got to do that video. There are really so many questions about so many players that we've just got to speak about them all. I'll tell you what, right? I knew that was a busy show, and it was a busy show. I've just been talking constantly on different talking points, and I could still keep talking. Thank you, everyone, for making it as engaging as it is. What's your predictions for the summer? What's your predictions for the summer? Do you think we're going to be happy? Remember last summer? I maintained the whole way through. I said, look, I think by the end of the summer, we're all going to have smiles on our faces. And I think we did by the end of it. The journey to get there was exhausting and wasn't particularly fun. But I did it. I was happy by the end of it. Something I want to quickly say here before we finish this show is this. I want to say congratulations to Zlatan Ibrahimovic on one of the best, mate, one of the most decorated careers you'll see in modern football. He won the Dutch League, Serie A, the Spanish League. What other leagues did he win? I don't know what other leagues he won. He won the double with Manchester United. He scored over 400 goals in over 600 appearances. 6'5" he was, and he was hard as, yeah, exactly, mate. I love that photo. Genuinely, you know, like when he arrived, you were like, man, can he do it in the Premier League? I'm not sure. Absolutely nailed it. He would have got 30 goals if he didn't get that injury in the, was it Celta Vigo? Same game that I think Marcus Rojo got an ACL. And then that was the final where we had Eric Bailly on crutches. We had Ibrahimovic on crutches. We had Rojo on crutches, and we still won. Ligue 1 as well, of course. Ligue 1 with PSG. I knew he'd won another league. So he won the French League, the Dutch League, the Italian League, and the Spanish League. What a don. 4 different league titles in 4 different countries, 400 goals. Amazing. Amazing. Oh, Tammy Abraham did his ACL yesterday. Deary me. I didn't know that. That is unlucky for him. That is seriously unlucky for him. But congratulations to Ibrahimovic on an incredible career. As I said, to finish this show, I've maintained it the whole way through. Like, we can talk about transfers all we want. We can talk about FA Cup finals, League Cup finals, all we want. The most important thing is the takeover of our club. It's all been a little bit muted. The only thing we've heard over the weekend was from the Financial Times about a potentially different structure of a bid from Ratcliffe. That's it. I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to feed any hysteria until there's something to discuss. I'm speaking with Ben Jacobs the whole time in the background. I'm speaking to other people too to keep on top of it. But when there is an update, I will be here immediately when there is an update for us to talk about. But in the meantime, we now focus and we look towards transfers. I'm going to do my tier list, updated tier list with every single player, and I'm going to structure it in 5 different tiers in terms of 100% first team player, squad players, should be loaned, should be sold. I'll run through that. And then tomorrow, hey, it's going to be a busy summer. Make sure you please do subscribe to United People's TV. And if you do fancy listening to me for another 45 minutes, at some other point, you're going for a walk, me, Bao, and Matt, we reflect on the FA Cup final. We speak about transfers. We speak about everything, the takeover. I hope you do enjoy that. I think, Jonathan, you're asking for the running total of players who are linked. I think we're on like 50. Is it like 53? I've got somebody, I think his name was Phil, big up Phil, has also made a digital version of this. So I need to update that. And maybe we can have that on screen as well, because I know that you can't all read that because there's so many names on it. If I was to write all the names big, whenever I need the biggest whiteboard in the world, the whole background will be a whiteboard. And that wouldn't be exciting. Right. Big show to kick off the week. Everywhere. Well, not everywhere. It's going to be a mad summer. I hope you do stick around to United People's TV. Big up to the best community in the world. And I'll see you in the lunchtime video.